The cost of every U.S. war in history. Afghanistan was the longest American war. Vietnam was the biggest failure. But which one cost the most money? Here's the definitive ranking. All sums adjusted for inflation. 13. War of 1812. War spending. $1.78 billion. Britain imposed trade restrictions on American trade with France. Then it started drafting Americans into the Royal Navy. The U.S. declared war before Britain could rethink its behavior. The war ended in a draw. The United States retained its sovereignty, but its expansion into Canada was stopped. 12. Mexican-American War. War spending $2.72 billion. This conflict began over Texas. It had gained independence from Mexico a decade ago, but Mexico did not recognize it. The U.S. annexed the Republic of Texas in 1845. Most Texans supported the move, but Mexico did not. The United States won, and Mexico relinquished its claims. 11. Revolutionary War. War spending $2.75 billion. The war began as a revolt against unjust taxation. It ended in the colonies, declaring independence from the British Empire. The war ended with the Treaty of Paris. The United States of America was officially recognized. 10. Spanish-American War. War spending $10.33 billion. The war began with America's support for Cuba's independence from Spain. When the USS Maine blew up, Congress declared war on Spain. The war lasted 4 months and ended in an American victory. 9. Civil War. Confederacy. War spending $22.99 billion. The Civil War was the deadliest conflict in U.S. history. It claimed 750,000 American lives from both sides. The conflict began after South Carolina seceded from the Union. The Confederate States lost, losing billions in the process. 8. Civil War. Union. War spending $68.17 billion. The Civil War was fought over the issues of slavery and states' rights. It ended slavery and the plantation system in the South. The Union spent almost 3 times as much as the Confederacy. 7. Gulf War. War spending $116.6 billion. The Persian Gulf War was one of the shortest conflicts in U.S. history. It lasted just 42 days and cost about 0.3% of U.S. GDP. After Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, a U.S.-led coalition intervened. A successful offensive forced Iraq to withdraw. 6. World War I. War spending $381.8 billion. The war broke out in 1914, but the U.S. only joined it in April 1917. American involvement lasted 1 year and 7 months. More than 116,000 troops were lost. It was the most expensive war up to that point. 5. Korean War. War spending $389.81 billion. Soviet-backed North Korean forces attacked South Korea in June 1950. President Truman committed American troops to the war. The idea was to stop the spread of communism. The war ended with the Korean peninsula still divided. 4. Vietnam War. War spending $843.63 billion. The U.S. lost 58,220 troops in this long war. It was another clash with Soviet-backed communists. However, Chinese and Soviet support proved decisive this time around. After America's withdrawal, the war went on for 2 more years. The Communist North Vietnam won. 3. Iraq War. War spending $1.01 trillion. The U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003 to look for weapons of mass destruction. Saddam Hussein's regime was toppled, but the war dragged on. America withdrew after 7 years and 5 months. 2. War in Afghanistan. War spending $2.31 trillion. This was the longest war in U.S. history. American troops invaded Afghanistan to oust the Taliban in 2001. After 20 years of fighting, the troops withdrew hastily. In summer 2021, the country was recaptured by the Taliban within weeks. 1. World War II. War spending. $4.69 trillion. The war broke out in 1939 after Germany invaded Poland. U.S. involvement officially began in December 1941. The U.S. spent 36% of its GDP on the war effort. More than 400,000 U.S. troops were killed in the conflict. The Axis powers were defeated, and the Allies won.